it's talking about the mind. It's about the mind and the heart, the feelings of the heart, or the weakness of the mind, or the strength of the mind. To leave that grihastha ashram, become a sannyasi, that's a battle of the mind. So now, when he gets into anartha nivritti, he starts talking about anarthas and aparads. These are actual qualities and actions. Like save aparads. And anyway, I haven't read the book in a long time. But basically we do bhakti bhajan. Even because this book came out, some 1700s or 1750 or whatever. But since time immemorial, devotees have been doing bhajan. As far as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, everyone was doing bhajan for 200 years before this book, Madhurya Kadambini, came out with such a very minute analysis of bhajan. So then, if they didn't have this book, they wouldn't even be dealing with all these questions that you're asking, and all these different divisions and sections, because I don't see them described in such minute detail in other places. This is subjective presentation and analysis, a very in-depth and very clear analysis of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. But if you read the original books of bhajan and teachings for the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and that's, of course, Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das and Jiva, they talk about the general stage in Anartha Nivritti and Bhajana Kriya, that we do bhajan and we get free. There's aparads and anarthas. They discuss in a very more simplistic way the steps to purification. The main aparads, we have to, and the whole book, there's a whole Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, who is the incarnation of Veda Vyas, and he doesn't go into all this minute description. He emphasizes one thing and one thing only. Two things, I would say. Harinam Sankirtan, and don't make Vaishnav aparad. 3,000 verses about different devotees that made aparad and how it was a mistake. All about warning about Vaishnav aparad. Ganatarala and all these things, and Vyuta Vikalpa. These are amazing. It's an amazing psychological and emotional analysis of the psyche and mentality of the bhakta. A phenomenal scientific presentation by Vishwanath. But even without knowing that book or all the nuances or details, everyone knows, as is presented everywhere, we have to become free from kam, krodh, lobh, moha, matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, envy. Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and madness. And the best way to do that is to chant the holy name, associate and hear from and learn from advanced devotees, and serve the Guru with faith and dedication and sincerity and enthusiasm. And look at the Upadesh Amrita. Rupa Goswami is our main Mahajan. Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Jiva Goswami. And he's telling the essence. It's called Upadesh Amritam. The essence of instructions. So, Amrita means, the nectar of instruction. Upadesh. So nectar, that's all you need. If you get nectar, Amritam, you get health, you get strength, and you get longevity. That's why it's called Amrit. Mrit, or Mrityu means death, and Amrit means no death. So if you're very, very healthy and live a long time, that's like you're deathless to some extent. Amrit. So Upadesh Amrit. These instructions are all you need to become eternal. These instructions are the essence of what you need to become perfect. So you look at that, and we don't see in there this very in-depth analysis of a bhajana kriya and artha nivritti. Vachu vegam, anasakroda vegam. Of course, it's all there in a very broader concept. Control the mind, control the belly, control the tongue. Controlling the mind includes all these fine subdivisions that we find in Madhurya Kadambini. Niganatarala, Utsamai, and Niyama, Akshama, not struggling with the four principles, whatever. So these are all mental, as I said. These are all very in-depth analysis of mentalities and thinkings and feelings, the thoughts and psychology and heart of the Vaishnava. But it's a very technical book, and there isn't that many very in-depth commentaries. That's why you read one very popular one, and still you have questions. And I don't propose to have very clear, deep understanding of all those points either. But I would say that the essence of Bhakti Bhajan, which is the 9 Shravanam Kirtana Vishnu Smaranam, and avoiding all aparads, Nama aparads and Dhamma aparads, and this much is told in Nectar of Devotion also. With Nectar of Instruction, Upadesh Amrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There's 2 books of Amrit, Bhakti Rasa Amritam Sindhu, and then Upadesh Amrit. So these 2 Amrits, one is a whole glass of Amrit, and one is an ocean, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's an ocean of nectarian instructions. By following the instructions and teachings of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Upadesh Amrita and nothing else, I'm sure one can attain perfection in Bhakti Bhajan. So there he talks about the 64 limbs of devotional service. Sri Rupa Goswami describes the 64 limbs of devotional service, beginning with taking shelter of a guru, then Diksha, then Shiksha, and on, and the 5 most important limbs of devotion, living in Braj, etc. So we follow all these things, and all the teachings of Upadesh Amrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, even without Madhurya Kadambini, and I'm sure we'll get prema. And I'm sure we'll attain the spiritual world and realize our Siddhadeha and live eternally serving Radha and Krishna. Even if you can't figure out all the psychological variegatedness and nuances of the Madhurya Kadambini, or even if you hear a very erudite, I have heard classes on this book by some of the more famous Gaudiya Vaishnava scholars. But even after I heard it all, still, when it was all said and done, I thought, wow, that's really a lot of complication. I prefer Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada's formula: chant, dance, and take prasad.